3 Brilliant Minutes, sponsored by Sinclair Heating and Cooling for 24/7 comfort on call.
We begin with a recap of a previous study that you covered, and I'm all for this. I like this one.
Yeah, this first part of today's story is a recap of what we talked about back on February 7th of this year. And I said at the time, and I still stand by it, Cammie, it's probably one of the most important stories we've had because of what they found. So just a real quick recap
yes,
here.
Yes, please.
If the computer will accommodate us. Yes, it's about children and about reading and even about adults. We showed you these two researchers. They did the study. Reading on screens instead of paper is a less effective way to absorb and retain information. So says their research. Yes.
I love paper.
As we should.
Right.
Okay, the screen inferiority effect is what they call it. When we read text on a screen, we understand less than if we read the same text on paper, and this applies across languages and writing systems. They say the effect is more pronounced for less skilled readers, i.e. children. Something we don't yet understand is what effect it will have on children who are learning to read primarily on screens these days, and we are not likely to find out for another 10 to 15 years. That's the big takeaway from that one. So it leads us into today's somewhat related study. Handwriting activates broader brain networks than typing, so shows this study. Take a look at it. So what they did is they rounded up 36 university students in their 20s. They were all right-handed. Okay. And each completed two tasks. One was handwritten and the other was typed. So the handwritten task was performed in cursive with a digital pen directly on a touchscreen.
So you're writing, yep.
The type task consisted of typing exactly the same words as they wrote out in cursive, but this time on a keyboard, but only using their right index finger. So it wasn't the full.
Yeah.
Okay. So the participants wrote or typed each word repeatedly within a 25-second window. So they were timed, and they also put a
cap on.
Cap on with 256 sensors so they could record the brainwave activity. Okay. So let's see what they found this time around. Handwriting activated far more widespread and interconnected brain networks than just typing, particularly, and think about this, particularly with areas associated with memory formation, sensory processing, and attention. In contrast, typing produced far less synchronized activity across these areas. Now, before we go any further, I want to say the researchers pointed out at this point in time, if handwriting, is associated with memory formation, sensory processing, and attention, that alone should be enough to make sure that people
learn it.
People in class take handwritten notes, not typewritten, because memory formation.
I think that happened in college. I felt very strongly about having to write out notes, and how I studied was to copy those notes.
I did the same thing.
Did you?
Yes.
Because I just writing it just kind of made it stick.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree. Okay, here's
We're on the
something else
same
to say.
page.
Quote, handwriting requires precise coordination of vision, motor commands, and sensory feedback as the brain continuously adjusts finger and hand movements to shape each letter. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, and typing, on the other hand, relies on repetitive keystrokes that provide minimal motor variation or feedback. So I think there's one more thing. I thought there was one more slide there. But again, the big takeaway, obviously, cursive needs to stay in our classrooms.
Right. Yeah, and my kids are not good cursive writers. I mean, when if they ever write a check, which they hardly ever do, it's kind of a disaster. But yeah, I think it is something they need to know.
I'm still chuckling because we did the same thing on that note
That's
thing.
how we studied, for sure. And I love paper. I always want paper scripts.
Yeah.
Which is how I learn. Thanks.